Chapter 3. Alejandro's World. The newsroom always felt emptier after a storm of headlines. For a week, the entire staff had been caught in the orbit of Markus Vogel. The speeches, the summit, the endless angles for coverage. Now, with the summit closed and Vogel back in Europe, the office hummed with a quieter energy. Reporters returned to local politics, council meetings, and neighborhood stories. The clatter of keyboards still filled the air, but the urgency had softened. Leila sat at her desk, staring at the article she had written. It had been published that morning, a crisp, thoughtful piece that highlighted Vogel's key arguments about climate responsibility. Her editor had praised it with a single, blunt line: good work. Normally, those 2 words would have satisfied her. She liked efficiency. Praise was not something she needed in flowery sentences. She preferred it short and simple, like facts in a headline. But today, the words didn't land the way they usually did. She sipped lukewarm coffee from a chipped mug and read her article again. It was strong, yes. Every sentence polished, every quote chosen with care. It sounded authoritative. But as her eyes scanned the page, she felt a curious distance from her own work. It was all brain, all structure, important but cold. Across the desk, David leaned back in his chair, balancing a pencil on his nose. He noticed her expression and smirked. "What's that look?" Leila frowned. "What look?" "The look of a journalist who just published a front-page piece but isn't happy about it." The pencil slipped from his nose. He caught it quickly and twirled it between his fingers. Leila rolled her eyes. "The story's fine." "Fine," David whistled. "That's not the Leila I know. Usually you tear your own work apart before anyone else can. And when you don't, you're proud of it. But this," he tapped the paper on her desk, "this isn't pride, this is doubt." Leila leaned back, folding her arms. "It's good, but maybe too clean, too polished, like a machine wrote it." David's grin widened. "Too political, not enough heart." She narrowed her eyes at him. "Don't start." "I'm just saying, sometimes stories need people in them, not just speeches." Leila looked away, but his words echoed in her mind. She remembered the faint strum of a guitar in a warm restaurant, the soft question asked between songs: "Do the words make you happy?" She snapped her notebook shut. "I should go." "Where?" David asked. "Out." She grabbed her coat and didn't give him a chance to tease her further. The streets outside were alive with the colors of evening. The sun dipped low over Auckland, painting the sky in strokes of gold and orange, fading slowly into purple. The harbor glimmered, boats bobbing gently in their moorings. The air smelled faintly of salt and grilled food drifting from restaurants. Leila walked without planning, her feet carrying her through the streets as if they knew where she needed to go before her mind admitted it. She passed bookshops closing their shutters, couples strolling hand in hand, children laughing as they kicked a ball along the footpath. By the time she stopped, she was standing in front of Mateo's restaurant. Inside, the lights were soft, warm. The sound of conversation rose in waves: laughter, clinking glasses, the low murmur of friends sharing meals. And there, in the corner, sat Alejandro with his guitar. He looked almost exactly as she remembered. His dark hair curled slightly at the edges, his eyes half-closed in concentration as his fingers danced over the strings. The melody he played was gentle, almost like a conversation whispered between old friends. The notes floated above the clatter of dishes and the hum of voices, weaving themselves into the fabric of the room. Leila stood in the doorway, listening longer than she meant to. Something in the music held her still, like a thread she couldn't cut. Then, finally, she slipped inside and found a small table. She opened her notebook, though her pen didn't move. The blank page stared up at her as Alejandro's song carried her thoughts away. When the piece ended, Alejandro looked up. His gaze swept the room, then paused. His face lit with recognition when he saw her. He gave a small wave, his smile easy and unforced, before returning to his guitar. The smile caught her off guard. It was so different from the practiced expressions she had seen on Markus Vogel's face, the ones designed to hold a crowd. Alejandro's smile was smaller, but it felt more real. She looked back down at her notebook quickly, though she still hadn't written a word. After his set, Alejandro walked over, carrying a glass of water. Without asking, he sat opposite her, resting the guitar case against the wall. "You came back," he said simply. Leila lifted an eyebrow. "The food is good." He chuckled, shaking his head. "The food is good, but that's not why you're here." His eyes flicked toward her notebook. "You're here because you have questions, always questions." Leila tightened her grip on the pen. "Maybe I'm just here to listen." "Listening is good," he leaned back. "Music only lives when someone listens." The answer disarmed her. She had expected playfulness, maybe teasing. Instead, it was quiet truth, spoken like it needed no defense. She cleared her throat. "Why do you play here, Alejandro? A small restaurant. You could chase bigger stages, bigger audiences." He tilted his head, considering her. "Why should I? Here I know the people. Mateo gives me food, the neighbors bring their families. My music isn't meant for fame, it's meant for connection." Leila wrote the word down before she could stop herself. Connection. Alejandro watched the pen scratch against paper and smiled. "Still a journalist." "Always," she replied. "But what about you?" His voice softened. "Do you only connect through words on a page?" Leila hesitated, the pen stilled in her hand. "Words are what I trust." Alejandro drummed his fingers lightly on the table, like strumming invisible strings. "Maybe one day you'll learn to trust silence, too." Days passed. Leila returned again and again, sometimes telling herself it was for dinner, sometimes because she wanted a quiet place to think. But each time her eyes found Alejandro in the corner, and each time her notebook filled with scribbles. Fragments of lyrics, sketches of the way his fingers curved on the strings, words like warmth and truth and unpolished. One evening, after his set, they left the restaurant together. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of the sea. The city had quieted, but the harbor still whispered with the sound of waves against the docks. "You play like you're talking," Leila said suddenly. Alejandro glanced at her, curious. "Talking." "Every note feels like a word, like a conversation, only softer." He slowed his steps, thinking. "That's exactly what it is. Music is a language, sometimes clearer than words." Leila thought about the pages of quotes she had collected from Markus Vogel. They were sharp, powerful, impressive. But Alejandro's quiet melodies, somehow they said more. On a Saturday, Alejandro invited her to the community center. "I teach guitar to the kids there," he explained. "Come see, it will give you material for one of your human stories." Leila smirked at his tone, but agreed. The community center was a modest building, painted with bright murals of waves, trees, and faces smiling under the sun. Inside, children sat in a circle, each holding a small guitar. Their eyes sparkled with energy and impatience. Alejandro knelt among them, guiding their fingers gently on the strings, showing them how to press without fear, how to let the sound ring. Leila sat in the back, notebook resting on her lap, forgotten. She watched as Alejandro clapped encouragement for every small victory, laughed warmly when a chord buzzed out of tune, and cheered when a child finally got it right. The room filled with sounds, some messy, some bright, but together they made a music more alive than anything she had heard at the summit speeches. She scribbled a few words anyway: patience, joy, heart. After the lesson, they walked out together into the fading light. "So, journalist," Alejandro asked, "what did you see?" Leila thought carefully. "I saw truth, not in speeches or articles, just in small hands trying to make music." Alejandro's smile was soft. "Then maybe you're starting to learn my language after all." That night, in her apartment, Leila opened her notebook again. On one page, Vogel's quotes sharp, commanding, heavy with power. On the next, Alejandro's world, children's laughter, strummed chords, quiet patience. Two men, two stories, two ways of telling truth. She told herself they were just notes, just material, nothing more. But even as she closed the notebook, she realized her heart felt lighter after Alejandro's music than it had ever felt after Markus's speeches. And though she refused to say it aloud, the question lingered in the quiet. Which story did she want to write, and which life did she want to live?